So today we're going to talk about this concept of truth. You know, and I've talked about this before because when I talk about truth, I talk about there's the truth, capital T, and then a lowercase t. The capital T truth is God's truth, and the lowercase t is mankind's truth. And mankind's truth is really at the end of the day is just made up of opinions. And it's kind of startling because human beings get very passionate about the truth. But they're never passionate about the truth, only their opinions. And this whole thing gets messed up because wars have been fought over just simply opinions. People are dying over opinions, and that makes no sense whatsoever. They justify it as though it's the truth of God. You know, they put on their shields a cross, you know, representing, you know, God is with us in this murderous behavior. And God has nothing to do with any of these things. Because on earth, in God, there's just the capital T truth. On earth, you have at best lowercase t, like when we're getting it, and then you also have what's false. That which is true, that which is false. So what I'm saying is that God only knows the absolute truth. We can join with God, we can align with God, and then start to get a clue. And that's nice. We can start getting an idea of the truth, but we can't claim to know the absolute truth till we are completely one with the absolute. And that can't be done when there's any residual ability to judge. So you can't, as soon as you judge, you don't know the truth, capital T. Judging excludes your mind from knowing anything. As soon as you judge, you are out of your mind. You're in a state of insanity. And that sounds, you know, pretty extreme, but when when we get into judgments, we're not capable of knowing anything. So that's why we start, when you don't know something, you start to get insecure. Like when people argue about things, the more you argue, you know, methinkest thou dost protesteth too much. Right? The more you argue and fight something, the more it might be confirming you don't know. That's why there's a saying that when you know, like in Taoism, when you know, you don't speak as much. That doesn't mean that when you give a lecture or when you talk to your children and try to teach them something, it means you don't know something. It means when you get so invested and intent about proving something, the less you might know. And it's interesting, like I've noticed lately, certain topics, whether people get into politics or whatever else, people get so intent and so passionate or intense about their beliefs. And they get mad. I don't know about how many of you, but the less I engage, the more mad they get. Which makes me even less likely to engage. And when people say, why don't you get more... If you really push me for an answer, I would have to say, because I don't care. I don't care about arguing whatever this or that. But what I will try to do is hear people. Just listen. If they're hurtful or violent, not interested. Like a John Lennon statement in the song Revolution. You know, if you want money for people with minds that hate, all I can tell you is you'll have to wait. I'm not interested in supporting hateful people on any topic. So the truth of God is what we are. It's not just what we seek. Like I need to know the truth. People go and sit in caves for years and years till they know the truth of God. And at the end of the day, you can't actually learn it. What we do is we realize, I am the truth of God. And it sounds arrogant, but Christ consciousness teaches us it's arrogant to say that you're not the truth of God. That's what's arrogant. Because God already said, I made you in my image. Well, no, we're not so sure about that anymore. We have like our opinions. God's saying, I am, you are. Period. Knowing the truth of God comes from knowing that. And that's why when you know that, you have less to argue about, less to fight about. No need. No need. So instead, we start to realize, I may not know the truth completely, but I have to at least start aligning with truth. Even if it's lowercase t, let me start getting into truth. Because beneath truth, even lower than that, starts to become more and more opinions. Lowercase t, at least it has the potential to reflect some truth. But we want to just go, hey, wait, I don't really want to get into opinions. And then some people will say, my opinion is not an opinion, it's a fact. And that's dangerous. Because you start telling me facts, you're trying to prove something. And people say, like to me or to you, you can tell them about, your understanding of God or prayer, meditation, forgiveness. It's almost ludicrous if you're talking about prayer and love and God. And they say, what degrees do you have? It's almost, notice the energy is so contrasted. A degree in what? I'm just going to go over here with, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Jesus, Mother Mary, and so on. No degrees, thank you. Like, people don't get it on this planet. They get so upset and insecure. So, it's to me, the first thing we have to do before we can learn the truth, even on earth, the truth as we know it here, the first thing we need to do is learn what's not true about ourselves and everything else. In other words, you can't be filled, your cup can't be filled if it's already filled. You see what I'm saying? The old saying, right? The meditative concepts and so on. Your cup's already full. It can't be given anything else. So it's like your opinion, your mind is already full. So I need to unlearn before I can learn the truth. You can't stuff the truth in. Some people say, how come some teachings are insistent that you come in without a bunch of other preconceived ideas? In other words, they tell you can't study this and this. Now, you can, just most people can't. Because what they do is they try to make it fit their thing. When I first read A Course in Miracles, some people got really weird about the Course. Like their brains couldn't handle it. For understandable reasons too, because it's a lot there, man. But some people couldn't handle it because they couldn't make it reconciled with their other beliefs. And you're supposed to not try to make it get reconciled. You're supposed to say, this feels right or it doesn't. And if it does, let it be the truth for me. Other things can have to reconcile to it rather than it to them. But then you have to make a commitment to what you believe. The person that says, well, I'm going to just make them all squeeze in, you're trying to be eclectic, which is non-committal, which is a person who does not know or understand anything. You're trying to play it safe. There's a movie that was out where a creature's coming after a guy, and he's trying to he uses one thing like a prayer to get rid of it. But it's funny because he tries a cross, then he tries a Buddhist mala beads, then he's going through all his religious artifacts, whichever one's going to work, And that's what it reminds me of. Human beings, anything they can just grab hold of, but no actual absorption, no integration, no I am. It's let's try. No truly being. So there's this concept of the truth of God. And people are actually afraid because it's not just God that people have seemingly separated from. We're actually part of God, so we separated from each other and from ourselves. You can't do one without the others happening because they're all an ecosystem. So we talk about separating from God. But we still separate from God when we separate from each other. God's truth is one. So if you want to join, you can't just join well, I'm going to get along with you because you're a Republican or a Democrat. Because there's still two groups and more. And that's only in one country. So you can't force nor even try to behave like you're one. We actually start to see that we are. And as we see that we are, we start dropping really low end of truth, lowercase t, that are called opinions. Higher aspect of lowercase t truth would be, I'm starting to get an understanding of the truth of God. But I would really like to live where the truth of God is aligned, or that my truth is aligned with God's truth, and I can also get my opinions to align with that truth that's also aligned with God. Try to get all of them lined up. Whenever I look at myself, any of us, not just me, whenever I look at myself and recognize there's the truth of God, and right now my opinions and my truth are not lining up with that, then I become suspicious of myself. I need my opinions to align with my inner truth and the inner truth to align with God's greater truth. When that happens, you can tell there's that Zen vibe to it. There's this locked in, man. I feel like everything's locked in. It just feels really congruent. There's no incongruence. There's no out of alignments. Where I talk the love of God, the light of God, and then my behaviors are completely contrary. Does that make sense? So we have to get all of this to kind of fall into an aligned kind of a space. Now, there's something on earth that I'll call the SS. The SS, because it's about skepticism, and that's science and church. Science tries to teach us to be skeptical. It's kind of strange, but it tries to, and church tries to teach us about sacrifice. What I'm saying is, the SS on earth is going to be one of two groups: skepticism and sacrifice. That's the SS. And they come from skepticism of science to sacrifice of religion. So watch. Skepticism of science says there's no such thing as God. The sacrifice of church is there is, and it doesn't like you. So both of the things that run this world, the SS, is not healthy. But both of them are doing the exact same thing. Even though science is saying, oh, religion, that's for people that are weak and they don't, but they're doing the same thing because both of them disconnect you from God. My skepticism's going to disconnect you, and my making you fear God, even though you'll go through ritual, oh, dear beloved God, and you'll go through to church and you'll sit, you'll kneel, you'll pray, but you're actually terrified of that God. How do we know? Because the religions you follow are telling you should be afraid. At the end of the day, all of us have had at least one really heavy-duty lifetime where we were told we're going to get zapped when we pass over to the other side. And in fact, when you pass, usually it's God that zapped you. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Think about it. It's like it's all so paranoid. I believe in God, watch out, because it's out to get you. So, you go and you sit in circles and Om Mani Padme and boom shakalaka, but all the time, there's this feeling. What if I've got the wrong religion? Or, according to the religion it says. And you can make the rituals elaborate. It can be very Buddhist and the, Kyoto monks, the chanting, and it could be pagan, and it could be high mass of the, some religions, and it can have any dressings to it. But all of it, believe it or not, and I'm not dissing any of them, all of them have a potential to be a beautiful place for people to go and experience something. But at the end of the day, all of them involve something called doing. You're doing your mantras, you're doing your yantras, you're doing your chanting, you're doing your prayers, you're doing your, confessions, you're doing communion, you're doing all these things. All of them affirm you're not already there. You're not already deserving. Science would say, those people in their religions, in their buildings, look at them, how silly they all look. Some of the outfits. It's crazy. This one person in these wild clothes with a stick of some kind out under the weather and beating the stick to the ground. And you think I'm talking about pagans. These are golfers. No. So anyway. Cursing to the Lord, Anyway. All the bizarre to-dos and their ceremonies and the rituals. The scientists are laughing at them. But the scientists are saying, you're so naive, religions. You're so naive, so gullible. If you could only understand, we only go with facts, really. Because it's starting to be understood more and more that the theories that a scientist goes out to prove usually gets proven. Why? Let's segue just for a moment to that direction, because everything in this universe, the material universe, is made up of atomic energy. And beneath atomic energy are atomic waves. And science and quantum physics has proven quantum waves seem to behave in a way that is expected by the observer. Which means that scientists are then creating, before they even see the result of their test, they're already creating the results of the test. Like Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. Well, it's also saying it's accurate to say, I think, therefore it shall be. Because the quantum universe responds to our thinking. So the scientist is doing the same thing the religious person is doing, which is, I hope this works out. But you're already preconceiving it. Aren't you being a little bit superstitious when you think you're being objective and you do a scientific experiment that's already fixed? It's already going to somewhat be affected by your thinking. So you're calling these people naive and gullible and suspicion-oriented, or following superstition-oriented, and yet they're doing the same thing. And both lead us away from God. They don't allow the truth of God. They say, no, this isn't God stuff. These are facts. This is scientific facts that your mind manipulated into being. So it's not really a fact. It's still an opinion. And people will argue this. This is not opinion. This is scientific fact. I even read it in the Readers, or in the National Enquirer. People think newspapers, just because they're printed on paper, that it's fact. People tell me all the time, oh, I saw it in the newspaper, Michael. Oh, well, then forgive me. I just back out of this conversation right now. You think I'm impressed? You don't think newspapers are affected by opinions? You don't think they're affected by money and people with direction they want you to go? All of it is crazy. Some people got very passionately invested in the last election, and this goes this way or that way. I really don't care. But the only time I got momentarily pleased is when I saw that all of the analysts and experts didn't know what to do. We're being paid mega bucks to be on the TV screen to tell you, well, here's why this is going to happen. And nothing worked. And they're like, I don't know what to, I don't know what to say. Where am I going to get answers? You have none. And you never did, as far as I'm concerned. And what are you going to do? This is planet Earth. There needs to be jobs. It's just relax. Take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. Don't say just because it's in a newspaper it must be true. Do you know that people have gone to prison because of facts that ended up being wrong and they were released later? People were biased based on race or by circumstantial evidence, and also which attorney spoke the loudest. There's a famous attorney from the, I think, 1800s, I think it was, in this country. And he used to be perfect at captivating, hypnotizing the jury. And he would just, when the other people were talking, he would distract them. When the other, lawyers were talking, he would just distract them. How? Well, one thing, he put a wire through his cigar and then lit it and had it, smoking the whole time, and the ashes would never fall. So he would, and this is just one of his little gimmicks. It was just, and people were like, he had, that's just one of his gimmicks to make sure they never listened when the others were talking. There's games in this world, man. There's games. Just like the old story about Nixon winning an election because it became televised, he wasn't attractive enough for some people. That's not how you're supposed to vote. But insane people, voting for insane people to run an insane system. And I say insane because I'm saying it's not God. It was designed to be as close to God as possible. You know what that's called? Our forefathers actually created a system. They are asking for guidance on how to do that, just like we did with Unity of Sedona. Just because you're a church doesn't mean you have a guided system. You need help. You need help with a family, a church, a business, anything. We can bring the truth of God into anything. It'll still be a lowercase truth, but at least it's not stuck down in opinions. And we can get our opinions to help build that truth within us, and that truth can align with the truth of God. But most people segment. Most people can't keep that alignment. So they say, when I have children, I'm going to do it differently, which is like saying, I want the truth of God to come into me and inspire me as a good parent, and then let it come all the way down to my actions. But we often lose it throughout that process. And you can have this, even in government. And at least our government tried to start off that way. But again, it gets beat up with opinions. I think we need to do an amendment to that amendment to that amendment to that amendment. And now you're just dealing with segmenting more and more and more into opinions. you can't have a healthy anything run by opinions. Now, this is called duality then. This world then is just made up of duality. Duality is a pendulum that swings. I like my pendulum over here. We're Republican. No, you need to be a Democrat. It's just using an example. Or races or genders. We're the ones. We're ruling. It's feminist time. It's, divine feminine, divine masculine. And you know where God is? Not doing anything. Just going, what are you people doing? That's right, you heard it here. God is not a swinger. So, but, so we're swinging. So if you're not in the truth of God, you have to stop for a minute and admit this. That wasn't so bad, was it? Really? You have to admit this. If God is here, can you really be very proud that you're one of these? See, when I realize I'm over here, I don't feel that good. Because I realize, I'm better than being over there because I don't like them, but they're still a them. I want to ask myself, why am I not here? It doesn't matter how much you justify being this or that, there's still a this or a that, which means you're going to fight and battle things. You're going to engage. You're going to wrestle with issues and subjects, and around you go. And where it stops, nobody knows. So just think about this. Wherever you think you are, justify, science versus religion. People talk about that. Then people say, no, what we really want to do is get science to confirm religion and vice versa. Let them accept each other. You're trying to fabricate a duality coming together which will not happen. Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, a universal theology is not possible. Meaning, while people are here, seemingly divided, thinking their own opinions, having their own opinions, they will not all say, I have an idea. We're going to start a religion that everybody will like. It won't happen. Because if you're segmented, you're still in ego. And if you're in ego, you will not find oneness. So it's the easy way or the hard way that we can learn this. But others may do as they may, but for me and mine, I will serve the living God. Which means I'm going to do my best to find that center. I want to stay here and not swing this way or that way. That's what all the mystics were saying about not getting invested. Detachment, non-attachment, and all the other words for it. They all mean the same thing. They mean I'm looking for this thing. I'm looking to how to be there. And you can try to do all kinds of things to get there. And there's really only one of two ways. Responsible behavior. I will look at my opinions, track them, see where they're coming from, release them, empty myself, and surrender to God. Or, secondly, simply, humbly asking God to teach you. How can I be there? God, I'm over here, or I'm over here, or I'm swinging back and forth between two decisions. And God's saying to us, there are no two decisions. In me, there are no two decisions. Oh, wow. Okay, well, someday, maybe if I ever get up there, then I won't get stuck, in duality. No. In God, there's no two. How do you get to the God part? Well, I said, eventually, after years and years of prayer and meditation and abstinence and so on, I will eventually get there. No. All you have to do is imagine right now that you are feeling a feeling of God, such as love, peace, joy, oneness. And then any decisions you have to make in the crazy world down here, just make the one that is most in alignment with love, peace, joy, and you're doing the God thing, which means you automatically take the elevator up to that point and you lock in for a moment. And then you'll go, that's weird. I was thinking I was choosing between two jobs, two people or whatever. But when I thought about two people, wait, there's no two people. There's me and my own healthiness. Let me center on healthiness. Not which person will I like more. Instead, my own healthiness. Then, as I sit the way God does in my own oneness, my own beingness, I can say, now centered in this beingness, if there are people I would like to share some time with or life with, which most resonates with this feeling? And you have your only answer. The head, the opinions don't have to get in there. And you don't have to become the religionist that's afraid and choosing the lesser of two evils. And you also don't have to be the scientist who says, well, I'm going to use my little experiments, such as synchronicities, and one's blonde, one's brunette. And then I went and my astrologer said, there'll be a blonde coming into your life. I knew it. And it was good. They should have finished their sentence, which would have been run. But instead you're like, synchronicity. Oh, that's it. Thank you. I don't need any more. Wait. No, astrologer, thank you. Boom, you go out, you hook up with this person, and hell cometh. So look at this. Duality. Guys, duality is an insanity. It's complete insanity. You can say that's too heavy of a term. Duality is insanity from the get-go because it means there's a this and a that, a me and a you. And if we are separate, divided, we fall. United, we stand. So when Jesus said, where two or more are gathered in my name, there shall I be. He's saying, where two or more are gathered in truth, meaning the separation, they let the separation fall and they join with each other. When two or more are gathered in one truth, there will I be. Who's I? The truth. Align with truth, truth will be. It becomes so apparent. Now, something a lot of people don't know about A Course in Miracles. There's a point where, because it's mystical and this woman received, that's all cool. But that's special effects still. Do you know what really made A Course in Miracles come about? And A Course in Miracles is the teaching of the remembrance of Christ consciousness. It's pretty powerful, pretty important stuff. How did it come about? Well, there were the past lives of this woman eventually. No, that's cool, but that's special effects. And then there's this and synchronicities and all that's great. Underneath it is this. The woman was saying, I'm struggling and something's wrong with this world. I don't know what it is. Something's wrong with life and there must be another way. And when her partner said, I'm determined to help you find that way, Jesus said it locked in something magical, something miraculous, that is. Furthermore, the guy said, because she was talking about how she looks and how she feels about herself, and he said, I am determined not to see that negative side that you keep worrying about. Jesus said, there again was a piece that locked it all together, because by saying, I refuse to see that in you, this thing she was obsessing on, Jesus says to them, you were insisting to not see the ego of her. When you insisted to not see her ego, her other self emerged and could receive A Course in Miracles. Meaning, it's healing that brings the great stuff about. Not all the mystical, what sign are you? People say to me, what sign are you? And it's like, why does it matter? What sign do you think I am? And then they'll throw out names. Okay, yeah, there you go. Because all they're looking for is a box that's convenient. We don't need those things. Throw away the opinions and the judgments. I'm not saying don't get a reading or don't use astrology. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying even if you use astrology, a good astrologer would never tell you you're fated to something. It's the fated parts that I'm talking about, the fated part that I'm saying release. Because if you really follow such a science and art righteously, properly, you'll see it tells me of what I am only potentially in my lower nature, as well as aspects of where I can go in my higher nature. It's telling me where I can go. That's healthy astrology, not the fate. Oh, well, you could have been a really great person, but you were born a triple Aries with a bad moon arising, the song, right? Okay. Sometimes I make jokes about bad moon rising and people are like, oh, I wonder if I have that in my chart. It's a Creedence Clearwater song, man. Stop. Anyway. Humans. So, duality and opinions, they jump left and right. Okay? Duality, opinions, they jump. To this side and that side. No need. No sense. How can I be in this spot here? Not to be above others, because figuratively it looks like you're above, but you're just aligning with the voice, the knowledge of God, the knowing of God. And so at the end of the day, what happened with Helen, who was writing the course, and her colleague, Bill, is that he was saying, I refuse to see your ego. And it helped her actually become closer to Christ, which tells us something. When you and I release judgments, practicing forgiveness, release judgments, we're actually releasing the Christ self in other people. When we do that, we're releasing it in ourselves. It's really strange and sometimes different kind of a teaching. A Course in Miracles, or I'm going to call it Christ consciousness, tells us, you guys have done the doing for too long. All the doing to become spiritual. We're going to cut to the chase. It comes down to this: your ability to love and forgive. All the other stuff is cool. All the other stuff is fancy and up and down and left and right and all this. It's just stuff of the world, and that's fine. So continue being a Republican, a Democrat, a this sign or that sign, or, triple whatever with a bad moon rising. Anything you think you are, male or female. But you will not truly become enlightened until you're willing to let all of those go. I'm talking about, again, the boxes. You can still move in life, but are you moving it because you're swinging down here? Or are you centered in God and then doing your best to stay aligned with that? That's the difference. That's the point. Don't just fish around, center, and then ask for guidance on how to remain as centered as possible. Because you're living in the pendulum. We're not completely home yet. You're living in the pendulum, but do you know that the pendulum can stop swinging? First, it'll be not swinging as severely. And now you know, oh, I must be growing spiritually. My moods don't shift as much. My hurts and hates don't last as long. Because that's the extreme swing. It's cutting down and cutting down. That's how you know you're growing spiritually. And then eventually you start to notice, wait, what happened? Eye of the storm. All of a sudden there's this peace, this quiet. The world's still spinning, but you're finding a different place, a center. Despite the world, I found my center. I feel alive. I feel guided. If I need to do something, I still move this to the right, move that to the left. I still have things to do, but I feel more centered. And this is why masters have told you, it's a funny thing, even in apostles, in the New Testament, they're telling you things like, it's funny, I certainly would like people to like me, but I don't feel like I care either way. I would like them to. That would be nice. But my life isn't based on that. I would like to know this or that in my life. I want to do my best to make the right decisions even as a parent. But I know that I slip sometimes. But when I do, and I notice that my pendulum has swung a little right or left, called mistakes we make, how soon do I catch it and come back to center? When we say over here and we start to feel the reaction of having made a decision we feel a little upset about, or somebody else has done something and we feel upset, when we start getting upset, you've set the pendulum into motion. React and pretend it's not happening, and it's going to swing even further. Then you're going to say, how did I end up way out here? I must have judged myself or someone else as being less than God created them to be. That's the only way I can go out here. If the truth of God is here, only the non-truth of God can get me out here. I want to know the truth of God. I have to be willing to look honestly at the things that swing me out here. People think that God is about saying, hey, God, I'm swinging way out here. Stop that for me. Because God's going to say, okay, go. Go ahead, stop. Well, I tried. But why isn't it working? Because I need you to contribute. I need you to participate. And so this world, this universe is designed so incredibly and people don't quite understand how things work. Even the science of, I'm going to manifest new things in my life. I'm going to manifest a new job or partner, whatever. Only our lack of clarity, living the truth of God, which means love and forgiveness. On this planet, it means love and forgiveness. When you're completely in God, there's nothing left to forgive. But in this planet, it's going to take the form of love and forgiveness. So when we're here, and there's things you think you want, we're being taught more and more to understand. You already not only have everything, you are everything. It's impossible for you to not move a mountain, Buddha says, and Jesus says. It's impossible. If you say move, it's going to move. If you know who you are. They throw that in there. Because we're like, I'm trying, telekinetically to even move a pencil, and I can't get that to happen. So what do you mean move a mountain? It's a metaphor of your problems, anything, your judgments. People that have hurt you are like mountains. You will get to the point where you can say to a mountain, get up and leave, depart, okay? Move, and it'll go, which means I'm really having a hard time with so-and-so. I need to make it move out of my way, out of my face. Mom, sister, brother, whomever it is. Move it. You have the power to do that. But there's one thing that'll keep it from happening if this is a metaphor of forgiveness. I'm too hurt or I'm too angry. Those things get in the way of me being able to demonstrate the miracle of forgiveness. But part of my point was, you would like something in your life, and we're being told and being taught. You already have everything because you are everything, and if you're not seeing that, it's because something's in the way. And the thing in the way is always judgment. Now, that doesn't mean we should look at each other and say, oh, well, you must have judged something. Because I saw you had a pain in a finger of yours, an arthritic pain or something. It must be you were not forgiving enough. That's not helping. Us as miracle workers, when people are in pain financially, emotionally, romantically, whatever it happens to be, our job is to see it as a test for ourselves. Clearly, the person struggling is already struggling. Why are they in your life? Why did you see them on the news? Why are they in this room? Why are they one of your family members? By coincidence? No. This universe is so intelligently designed that all of the people that are brought to you every day are brought one purpose only, to be forgiven. Not literally saying, like you guys are all sitting in the audience, let's see, I forgive you. It means I need to drop into a space, a place in my heart where God resides and say, how can I see you for what you really are? This person looks like they're in physical pain. Instead of, magical like kind of a healing, it's that person represents what it's like to be separate from God and in pain. They lost a loved one. Oh my goodness. They're symbolizing what it's like to be separate from God. And if I'm seeing it, I'm in it with you. And that's why science and religion, one reason why, they're trying to distance us from God. Because God means taking responsibility for each other. When one child of Adam and Eve kills the other and God says, where are they? They say, what am I, their keeper? The answer is yes. And nobody really answers that. What am I, my brother's keeper? The answer is yes. You've killed him. You should have loved him, but you hated, feared, or were jealous and killed him. And every time a person walks, if I stand before you, myself, if I stand here and say something you absolutely hate, your job is absolutely to see something other than what you're hating in me. And if you do, you're going to release more Christ in me, and you're going to then release the Christ in you, because it has to be coming out of you to see it in me. And that's what oneness is. We won't know the absolute oneness while on earth, but you'll know a version of the truth or oneness of God. Forgiveness is an inside job, but it's something we have to extend to each other. Some people are waiting around for other people to kind of get it. Then we'll forgive them. That's actually not how it works. Instead, we have to say to ourselves, one process is to look within and track it and see what's going on inside of me. That's how I reach the truth of God. That's how I wake up. And the other is simply to ask God, how would you have me see this? That's really a shortcut. The other, though, involves responsible behavior and looking within. You should do both on an as-needed basis. But the whole universe is filled with Christed beings, whether they're other dimensional or aliens or whatever you think they are. All beings have a spark of God known as the Christ within them. We will not find it through external behaviors. Science will not get us there. Religion will not get us there. Making people behave the way we want them to behave will not get us there. So we all have to breathe and go, yeah, God, I played a part of that. I've been doing some of that. When you're waiting for your father to apologize, when you're waiting for your ex to apologize, you're in hell already because you're separate. And you know what? They're holding the keys. What do you mean they? I don't even like them. Do you know what they did to me? Jing, 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 jing. They're holding the keys to you getting out of hell. How do we know you're in hell? Because you're upset, you're hurting, you're angry. And then people do that. I'm not upset. Stuffing it doesn't mean you're not upset. If you don't think of a person and feel a feeling of love, then you're still stuck. There's a problem somewhere. If you think about a situation from your past and don't feel a sense of peace, then you're still hooked somewhere. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm saying inevitably it's going to happen. I tell you straight out about judgment, and forgiveness. You can't force forgiveness. You can't make people forgive prematurely. That could be dangerous. But do know this. I tell you all the time about setting boundaries with people so that you don't get yourself too hurt and so on. One day you will realize we're all in this together, and there's so much love I feel for you, even despite your strange behaviors. You can even be hurtfully behaving. I don't have to pretend the hurtfulness is the Christ. That's even more insane. But that's what religion and some systems tell us that we're supposed to do. You're supposed to just forgive them. It's your brother, it's your sister, whatever. No. You're allowed to say adios to crazy. But are you willing to not only say adios, are you willing to affirm that despite the facade of the person misbehaving, are you willing to affirm that behind the facade is a light made in God's image? If you can get that, because that takes a lot. If we're really hating someone, you're not wanting to affirm that there's a light. And that's why that technique is just about foolproof. I'm willing to say goodbye to this ego self. I'm willing to do that and not hate you. I'm willing to learn what I need to learn from the circumstance, and I'm willing to affirm there's a light in you. Then I know that I have done something called forgiveness. If I pull off those three things, those three pieces of criteria are the most sure way of knowing that you've actually got it. Saying it doesn't mean anything. I've forgiven you. Those three pieces right there are the best way to confirm it. So, dualities and opinions, they have to go. Forgiveness and judgment, we have to learn entirely new versions of forgiveness. What judgment really is. Judgment doesn't mean you're just flamingly hating the person, you're screaming. Judgment means if I see you outside of what I just described, refuse to hate you and see that light of God in you. Anytime I'm missing peace, happiness, joy, oneness, something is wrong. Now again, it's okay, but one day I will be able to say this and see this and feel this about everyone. The day you do that, you are home. You will ascend. Nothing can keep you locked into the 3D world when you have forgiven the 3D world in all its reflections. So, everybody that comes your way are going to reflect one of two things to you. How well you're doing and lessons of how you could do better. That's all. We think that we're actually living on earth, and sometimes we go out and some people we like and people we don't like. Those are all just stories and opinions. Those are the little human opinions. The truth is, God has actually designed a life for you and me where all that it matters, it doesn't matter what color you paint your house, nothing matters. All that matters is how you respond to the visitors that it sends you. That old saying, watch how you treat people, because they could always be an angel in disguise, is actually a sort of a hint. You're being kind of, given a little clue on how to do things. They could be an angel, because they are. They are all light of God. So how do you treat your visitor? Unworthy. Oh, you're one of them, Republican or Democrat, male or female, black or white, or whatever things we put on each other. The way people responded in the old stories of the Old Testament and New Testament, lepers. Oh, it's a leper. Throw them in a leper colony. Aren't we now better because the lepers don't live amongst us and infect us? It doesn't work. And then you get a guy out in the Hawaiian Islands where they put all the lepers out on one island, and he goes and lives amongst them and helps them. It's amazing. That's miracle-mindedness. Even if he would have gotten sick, the miracle was already there because he did not judge them the way other people judge them. And if I was a leper, I would really love being treated the way that one person treated me, right? So we have to look beyond the sickness of people, the mental sickness. I don't just mean psychological. I mean all the varying sicknesses in people, judgments, hurtful behaviors. I'm not saying it's right what they're doing, and you're allowed to say no. That'll be stopped right now. whether it's in your house or at your place of work or whatever. You're allowed to say no. You're encouraged. It's called boundaries. However, do not hate them and affirm that there's a light in them, no matter who they are. You're a shining star no matter who you are, right? And then we start returning. The truth of God is stellar. It's perfect. I'm going to read a story to you instead of a meditation today. I'm going to read a story to you. This was shared by one of our congregants. You might have seen it online, but it's sort of an ancient tale, or at least they're not sure how old, but certainly at least a couple hundred years old, and also whether it inspired a painting or a painting inspired it. It's called The Truth Coming Out of the Well. So this is a legend. The truth and the lie meet one day. So, listen to this. Eyes opened or closed is up to you. The lie one day says to the truth, "It's a marvelous day today." The truth looks up to the sky and sighs in agreement, for the day really was beautiful. The two of them spent a lot of time together and ultimately arriving beside a well. The lie tells the truth, "The water's very nice. Let's take a bath together." The truth once again is a little suspicious, but tests the water and discovers the water really is very nice. They undress and they start bathing. Suddenly, the lie comes out of the water, puts on the clothes of the truth and runs away. The furious truth comes out of the well and runs everywhere to find the lie and to get her clothes back. The world, seeing the truth naked, turns its gaze away with contempt and rage at the truth for being so naked and blatant. The poor truth returns to the well and disappears deep inside, forever hiding therein its shame. Since then, the lie travels around the world dressed as the truth, satisfying the needs of society because the world in any case harbors no wish at all to ever again meet the naked truth. The moral of the story is that the world has most things backwards. Lies are treated as truth, and truth kept hidden far away, as though it's too shameful to bear. Interesting, huh? Thank you. Thank you. So I'm praying that today has made sense. Everything is upside down. Everything is backwards in this world to try to support. Now watch. There's a God part of us and an ego part of us. The world of the ego is the one that tells you to see things upside down and backwards. To judge instead of love. To defend instead of know that you're invulnerable to anything. To react instead of center. It's telling us all the things we do that cause us to be sick, to be stressed. And if stress is a major cause of illness, then the ego is the culprit behind illness. It has no good intentions. It's flipped everything around so that we see everything as though the lie is the truth. And we get all passionate about these things. And I mean, all of us. I mean, you can practice spirituality. I get people, that'll email and say, you need to do this more and you need to do that more. The ones that our team, social media team, occasionally pass some of them on to me, but not all of them. But, especially the crazy ones that are just all intent about something. But I can tell you, I'm not typically going to get reactive and passionate about save this and save the trees and save the well. And people think that's wrong. Michael, you've got to save the trees. No, wait. It's a test. Remember, it's a test, and you'll respond differently. If you become like the people that went out and they called spiking trees, putting spikes in trees so that the tree cutters come along and cut the trees down, it could kill them. Was that really protecting the trees? You're going to kill a lumberjack to teach him a lesson. I'm out. That's it. You lost my interest. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I don't think it's great to just cut down trees or slaughter animals at all. But the pity that I would feel is the person that's doing it, what's in here. Not the action alone. The action tempts us to react. But the action, everything's upside down and flipped around. The action is to test you. Test you on what? Whether you'll save the well? No. Whether you can still see the light of God in that person that doesn't act very godlike. You understand? It's very important. It's all a test. of the spiritual broadcast system. It's just a test. Don't react. This is only a test. But I mean, I have my moments, like, I can say, I understand, and people also are making a living raising animals, and they do this to animals in various forms and put meat on people's plates and all. I get it. I'm not going to hate it. I don't want to hate them. But there are times, if I walked outside and I saw somebody, torturing a dog, I'd knock him out. Because that's the human side. I'd have to forgive myself, but I'd knock him out. Meaning, metaphorically, it's going to be hard for me to not stop them. So should I or shouldn't I stop them? Believe it or not, Christ says boundaries are fine. Stop them. Okay? Stop them, but don't hate them. Well, how do I do that? Hate is what gets my blood boiling and my adrenaline going and gives me the strength to knock them out. Oh, now we're talking about holy wars, aren't we? So I'm closing with this. We talked about science and religion. Do you think I was talking just about science and religion? I'm here to tell you, everybody in your life is either science or religion. The scientists in your life are the ones that are telling you you're a fool for believing in stuff. They're the people who tell you, get rid of those necklaces and the essential oils. And those are the scientists in your life. The religionists, those are the people that constantly put you down and tell you you're unworthy of anything good. The mom that says you'll never amount to anything, she's just religion. Because everything is the SS. Don't go home and tell them I said that. Okay? But just, isn't it amazing everybody's the same? The SS. The fear. And both of them are afraid. One's trying to look like they're fighting religion, but in fact, they're also distancing us from God because they're afraid of God. And the religions are telling us we're not worthy because they're afraid of God. Which both of them are then saying, we don't actually know. And you can say, really? I've been depending on mom and dad and people and neighbors to be my validation, and I don't have to do that anymore. All I have to do is go here, and it is as it is. I am as God created me. They're all religions and science. Don't need religion to save you and don't need science to save you. But again, that means people in your life. Learn to see them as tests, and tests of one of two kinds. This is either science or religion, and you can tell by the things they're telling you, right? The ones you're unworthy, that's all sacrifice. That's religion. The reason you have to do sacrifice in the temples and the altars and so on throughout religions, because it means I'm unworthy. And you know what you're doing? I'm unworthy, but I have an idea. If I kill something, I might be more worthy. That doesn't make any sense. All it is, we talked last week, misdirected guidance. Because the guidance was, release the lower self. Mankind heard, I need to kill an animal. This is the animal. The lower self is the one you need to release. But humans are like, no, I don't like that one. That'll take too much work. I'm not going to a therapist. This is 300, this is 3000 BC. I'm not going to no therapist. We don't do that in this time and age, So I'm going to kill an animal. That's what we do. And they do that. They make everything fit their little box. The time is coming, guys. The time is coming when we can say, I get it. It looks like there's lots of people, but they're really two groups, religion and science, and they're here for one purpose, to test me. I have one of two choices, give in to the test or rise above. Give in means I will judge and react. Rise above means I will love and forgive. When I love and forgive, I'm off the pendulum and I'm back to center, and I will have a miracle come that'll show me a sense of peace. Joy. Like Jesus saying, look at how you feel about people. You want to know if you're making the right decisions? Do you feel joy? Because, and by the way, why would you feel joy? Because I don't have to be around any people today? That's not joy. Joy would come from, I really feel good about the way I responded to that situation. Have you ever had that? Did you ever feel like joy? Did you ever do any good for anybody else and then feel joyous? Christ tells us, all you need to do is keep doing that. Keep bringing gifts of God to people. Make them feel good, which is partly why I decided to let this car go. Bring gifts to people. Let them feel good. And because you brought it to them, you will receive it yourself. You will only receive that which you give. And people thought that always just meant money. Give as you receive and so on. As I give, I do receive means consciousness, not just stuff. Consciousness. My brother, sister, man, you're loud today. Whoa, you're really tempting me today. All your scientific data to prove that I'm wrong. You know, you're just like your father. He used to do this, and that's scientific data. You're just like your mother. She did this. You're just like, see? That's scientific data too. All the words from people, they're going to fit in one of those two things. You're either, they're either proving you wrong or they're telling you you're unworthy. And our job is to say, not today. If it gets overwhelming, say, not today, step aside, and go find self-worth and healthiness. Center yourself. Go get yourself some safe space. But you still, even if you walk away, you still in here can say, God, help me to see them as you see them. At the end of the day, imagine this room being a metaphor of all the people on the planet. At the end of the day, my job is to not hate or react to anything any of you say or do as best I can. Secondly, to affirm that there's light in you made in God's image. Now, if I really get that, you know what's going to happen? My actions are going to reflect it. I don't just walk away going, oh my God, there's God in you, there's God in you, there's God. That's apparent that I don't totally believe it, A lot of New Agers, they'll go, I don't hate him, I just bless him and go on my way. It's still kind of a little, sting to it. Our job is to affirm it and to be able to say, even if I have to walk away, I should feel joy when I say it. Not just hope. I should actually feel like, wow, that was quite a test. God, how would you have me see them? And then if you need to use visuals to it, then just visualize the person turning to light. Visualize the person embracing you and out of their ego and you out of yours. And thank you. I'm really sorry we struggled and did this the hard way. But I affirm there's light in you and peace to you and wish them well. Wish them what you would want to have. Do good to those who hate you. Wish well to those who challenge you. I'm not saying enable their behaviors. Just get your lesson and affirm good for them. Don't wish that you can win the lottery so you can move out of so-and-so's house because you don't like them. Instead, wish them prosperity too. It's not easy. But I'm not telling you to wish their ego anything. I'm asking you to affirm that beyond their ego, there's something that's worth finding, right? And if I affirm this for you, I now will automatically get it for myself. And I start to feel good. And I think I feel good because I did good for you. I'm actually feeling good because when I did good for you, it released a time-released Christiness in me that starts emerging. All right, thank you guys.